So when I made the video like a week ago, talking about how I think the Celtics could struggle in the playoffs, I did not think those problems were going to pop up in round 1. I had that in mind for when they'd go up against the Wizards in round 2, and if they managed to get to the conference finals against the Cavs, maybe. But those problems have come up, and then some I didn't even talk about. In round 1 here against the Bulls, they're down 2-0 to the 8th seed, losing both games in Boston, and Game 3 is a must-win. If they lose that one, they're down 3-0, and then it's basically done. So it's a gut check time for this Celtics team to see what kind of guts they actually have. But we can talk about what's gone wrong in the first 2 games and provide some sort of a solution for them moving forward. And I think both games have their own characteristics of why they lost. So in Game 1, it was the rebounding, if you ask me, because Chicago grabbed 53 rebounds, including 20 offensive boards, and the Celtics had 36 rebounds. So, I mean, that one is just, you give a team like the Bulls so many extra possessions and they're going to kill you. On top of that, Bobby Portis played out of his mind with, 19 points, going 3 of 4 from 3. Pretty much all the times he scored in the first game was a lot of pick and pops. And historically, Bobby Portis has not been a good shooter, so it would make sense for you to leave him open, but he just kept on knocking him down. So they probably should have made the adjustment midway through and gone, hey, this guy's having a Reggie Miller night. We should probably switch up our game plan a little bit. But the Celtics, they just didn't do it. He just kept killing them in that first game. Combine that with some big shots from Jimmy Butler. And that's really the story she wrote in Game 1. But we should also give a lot of credit to Chicago here. Their defense has been really freaking good. And everyone, Rondo's defense has stepped up. Dwayne Wade's defense has stepped up. Both of those guys took a dip on that side of the floor this season to me, but they've just been a lot better. And the Celtics, they run a lot of off-ball stuff. Dribble handoffs, guys coming up from the corner to the top of the key where they get a screen so they can continue their momentum. There's just a lot of off-ball movement, and the ball kind of goes everywhere. It's beautiful basketball. It's textbook as they come, and Chicago has done a beautiful job of defending it, whether it be just switching at the right times, getting around screens, leaving Marcus Smart completely wide open to basically make it 4-on-5. They've just done a great job of defending all the Celtics off-ball stuff, and I will provide what I believe to be a counter for that once we get to talking about the future of this series, but we can also talk about a little bit more about Game 1, and I mean, this goes into Game 2 as well. Rajon Rondo has been really aggressive. I mean, he was just flat out better since they took him out of the rotation and then gave him some of his minutes back. I mean, in Game 1, Rondo, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, respectable on defense, and just being aggressive, getting screens and attacking the teeth of the Celtics, and not being afraid to finish around the rim and then kick out to other guys. I mean, my thing with Rondo has always been, are you going to play defense and are you going to be aggressive? Because if you are, then you can still be really productive, even if you can't shoot, and he's doing it right now. So that combined with the rebounding and the good defense, that makes sense for Game 1. Now, Game 2, I mean, based on some of the stuff I saw on Twitter, it seems like everyone's just like, well, they can't grab any rebounds, that's why they lost Game 2. The Bulls had like 7 offensive rebounds in the first quarter, which of course is not good, but the rest of the game they had like 4. Okay, they finished with 11 offensive rebounds total in Game 2. The Celtics also had 11 offensive rebounds themselves in the second game, and in total, Chicago only won the rebounding battle by 5 in Game 2. So I don't think you can say, well, they just didn't grab enough boards. I think the reason why they lost Game 2 was just the Celtics' defense sucking. The Chicago shot 51% from the field, and the Bulls' offense, it's not very complex. There's not a lot of spacing, although, to be fair, they've been knocking their outside shots down. I mean, Dwayne Wade was 3 for 4 in Game 2 from 3, but a lot of the time the Bulls just they give it to either Rondo, Butler, or Wade, and they have someone set a screen, and then they just kind of figure it out. And the Celtics have not done a good job of getting around those screens. In the highlights of Game 2, you can find plays where Rondo just gets into their defense by one simple screen. Paul Zipser had a high screen that resulted in him finishing at the rim. They've also had times where Mirotic will be moving off screens, and they just simply lose him and he gets open for an outside shot. There was another time where they just bid on a Mirotic pump fake, which allowed him to get to the free throw line, and then I believe he passed it off to someone. They're just making simple defensive mistakes. And I said in my video, like, their attention to detail on defense this season has been inconsistent, and we're seeing it now against the Chicago Bulls. Because Fred Hoiberg, he's done a damn good job when it comes to, like, matchups. For example, putting Paul Zipser at the small ball 4 against Amir Johnson. Zipser was great in Game 2, 16 points, 2 for 3 from 3. But his offensive scheme is not super complex. The Celtics are just messing up on defense. Now, some ways they could improve that moving forward. I mean, Rondo, as aggressive as he's been, he was still 0 for 3 from 3 in Game 2. Maybe he's the guy that you just leave open. Besides that, I mean, just be better, okay? Like, switch when you need to. Guys providing help the help defender. Just communicate better. Just play better defense, flat out, you know? Like, the Bulls are hitting their outside shots, and if they're going to do that, you just have to be a step quicker in everything. You know, if you have to provide help for someone driving, well, be able to get back out to your guy because they're not missing their outside jumpers right now. Now, we can also talk about Robin Lopez, who has been the beneficiary of a lot of really good mid-range jumpers. Here's a newsflash for you. Robin Lopez shot 43% from mid this season while taking about 2 or 3 a game. The dude's legit from out there. You have to cover him at least somewhat, but the problem is, if Jimmy Butler or Rondo or Dwayne Wade are constantly getting into the defense because they can't stop him on the perimeter, which they have not been able to do, you have to pick someone to help off of, and I mean, I guess you just pick Robin Lopez, and if he's going to make that shot, you're kind of screwed. So they simply just have to do a better job along the perimeter. I mean, I think this tells you everything right here. Rajon Rondo had 14 assists in Game 2. Jimmy Butler had 8. They're just getting in there, and, I mean, they're just kicking it out to guys when they bring the help. Now, on the offensive side for the Celtics, like I mentioned, Chicago's done a really good job of defending all the off-ball stuff, and I think the solution you can provide going into a Game 3 is have some more simple offense. Have your spacing just be as, like, a big deal. Like, have 2 guys on the corner, have 1 guy on the elbow, and just give Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford as much spacing as you can, and just run, like, pick and rolls and pick and pops against Rondo and Lopez or whoever might be defending Isaiah. Because Chicago's doing a great job at all the help defense and stuff. So if you just run, like, a really high screen with Isaiah and Horford and force Robin Lopez to defend Isaiah Thomas in the open floor, and then, you know, hopefully Al Horford can get open for a three-pointer off of that, that might be your best option. It's kind of like the Warriors, how we say sometimes they need to simplify their offense in the big moments. I think we're seeing the same thing with the Celtics here. Because, I mean, in Game 2, Horford, he only had 8 shot attempts, and he also attempted 0 threes. And you would think that the advantage for him over a guy like Robin Lopez is Lopez wants to defend the paint, Horford can shoot. The Celtics really haven't gone to that. I mean, maybe you start Kelly Olynyk next to Horford, because, I mean, he was 2 for 4 from 3, and historically he's been a good three-point shooter. But I'll also say that we are seeing the effects of not having another guy who can create his own shot. There were a couple times last night where I felt the Celtics settled for three-pointers, coming from, you know, guys like Bradley or Crowder, who are a couple of players who are just not the best at really beating guys off the dribble and all that. Bradley got better at it, but I feel like since he got back from his injury, he hasn't really had that part of his game this season. I mean, you just kind of got to deal with it. On the flip side of things, Dwayne Wade last night with 22 points, he had a couple of shots where there was a defender pretty close to him, and he just hit the shot over him anyway. The Celtics only have 1 guy like that on this team in Isaiah, and Well, you know, they're down 2-0 for a reason here. But I would mainly contribute it to, like, defense not being the best, and in Game 1, the rebounding just flat out sucking. So, for Game 3, I mean, I like the idea of some more simple offense. Just really use your spacing and your shooting bigs against Robin Lopez. Try not to get destroyed on the boards like you did in Game 1. I mean, Game 2, Horford had 11 rebounds total. Like, I feel like they wrote the ship enough in the second game, but I mean, let's just see what they got, man. They're down 2-0 going on the road. It's a must-win Game 3.